shoulders to relax. Let your hands become still, and gently unclench your jaw. Take a slow breath in, and then breathe out, letting the day leave you little by little. Tonight's story is called The Little House at the Edge of Evening. It is a peaceful story about a tired traveler, a welcoming home, and the quiet comfort of realizing that not every decision has to be made tonight. So, pull the blanket a little closer. Let the room become calm around you. Let my voice keep you company. And when you are ready, our story will begin. At the far end of a quiet country road, where the hills softened into fields and the fields slowly faded into forest, there stood a little stone house with a blue wooden door. No one hurried past that house. There were no buses to catch, no appointments waiting, no clocks chiming impatiently from distant towers. The narrow road ended just beyond the garden gate, as though it, too, had grown tired and decided to rest. The house belonged to a woman named Clara. Clara had lived there for many years, though she could never quite remember how many. Time moved differently in the little house. Winters passed in the sound of rain against the windows. Spring arrived with birdsong in the chimney. Summer smelled of lavender and warm earth, and autumn brought golden leaves that gathered quietly beside the doorstep. Each evening, just before sunset, Clara followed the same gentle routine. First, she filled the kettle with water from the deep kitchen sink. Then she placed it on the old iron stove and waited for the soft beginning of its song. While the water warmed, she stepped outside to close the garden gate. The garden was small but full of life. Rosemary grew beside the path. Tiny white flowers climbed the stone wall. A pear tree leaned toward the kitchen window, as though hoping to hear what was being cooked inside. "Good night," Clara would say to the garden. She always said it quietly, but the leaves seemed to hear. That evening, the sky was the color of warm milk, with a spoonful of honey stirred into it. The last light rested on the hills, turning every blade of grass golden at the edges. Clara closed the gate. Then she noticed something on the road. A traveler was walking slowly toward the house. He carried a worn brown bag over one shoulder, and his coat was covered in the pale dust of the road. He did not look lost exactly, but he looked like someone who had been walking for so long that he had forgotten what it felt like to arrive. Clara waited beside the gate. When the traveler came closer, he gave her a tired smile. "I'm sorry to disturb you," he said. "Is there a village nearby?" "The nearest village is several miles away," Clara replied. The man looked back at the road. Evening was settling quickly now. Shadows were stretching between the trees. The first stars had begun to appear. "I thought I would reach it before dark," he said. Clara looked at his tired face. Then she looked at the empty road behind him. "The kettle is already on," she said. "You may as well come inside." The traveler hesitated. "I don't want to be any trouble." "You won't be," Clara said. "The house has more chairs than it needs." So the traveler followed her through the blue door. Inside, the little house was warm and softly lit. Copper pans hung above the stove. A thick rug covered the stone floor. Shelves lined the walls, filled with books, candles, jars of dried herbs, and small objects collected from forgotten places. The traveller set down his bag. The kettle began to whistle. Clara poured the hot water into 2 cups. She added chamomile, a slice of apple, and a little honey to each one. Then they sat beside the fire. For a while, neither of them spoke. Outside, darkness settled over the garden. The wind moved gently through the pear tree, brushing the branches against the window. The traveller held the warm cup between his hands. "I had forgotten how quiet a room could be," he said. Clara smiled. "Most rooms are quiet," she replied. "People simply carry a great deal of noise into them." The traveller looked down at his tea. "I suppose I do." The fire cracked softly. After a while, Clara brought out bread, cheese, and a bowl of thick vegetable soup. The traveller ate slowly, as though he had not
was only soup," Clara said. "Perhaps," he replied, "but I think hunger changes the taste of things." Clara nodded. "So does tiredness." The traveler looked toward the window. "I've been trying to reach the coast," he said. "There is a ship leaving in a few days. I told myself I had to be on it." "What is waiting for you across the sea?" Clara asked. The traveler was silent for a long moment. "I'm not sure." Clara did not ask another question. Instead, she stood and added another log to the fire. The room filled with the warm scent of cedar. "There is a small bedroom upstairs," she said. "The sheets are clean, and the window looks toward the hills." "I should leave early," the traveler replied. "You may," Clara said. "But morning will come whether you worry about it or not." He smiled faintly. "That sounds very simple." "Most useful things do."
Clara showed him upstairs. The bedroom was small, with a wooden bed, a wool blanket, and a lamp on the bedside table. A round window looked over the dark garden. The traveller placed his bag beside the chair. Clara opened the window slightly. Cool night air drifted into the room, carrying the scent of grass and distant rain. "You will hear owls later," she said. "They live in the old oak tree." "Thank you," the traveller replied. Clara paused at the door. "You do not have to decide anything tonight," she told him. Then she closed the door gently. The traveller lay down beneath the wool blanket. At first, sleep did not come. His mind continued along the road without him. It hurried toward the village. It searched for the coast. It counted the days before the ship departed. It opened old memories, examined unfinished conversations, and arranged tomorrow's worries into long, untidy rows. But the little house was patient. The fire downstairs made a low, steady sound. The wind moved softly around the roof. Somewhere in the garden, a leaf fell onto the stone path. The traveller listened. After a while, his thoughts seemed less urgent. The road could wait until morning. The ship could leave without him, or perhaps he could still catch it. Both possibilities existed, but neither required an answer beneath a warm blanket in a quiet room. An owl called from the oak tree. Another answered from farther away. The traveller closed his eyes. For the first time in a long while, he did not dream of running. He dreamed instead that he was standing in a wide field beneath a pale blue sky. There were no paths in the field, no signs telling him where to go. The grass moved like water around his feet. In the distance stood the little stone house. Smoke rose from the chimney. A light glowed in the kitchen window. He knew he could walk toward it whenever he wished, but he also knew there was no hurry. When morning came, sunlight filled the room. The traveller woke to the smell of fresh bread. For a few moments he did not remember where he was. Then he heard Clara moving quietly in the kitchen below. He dressed and went downstairs. Breakfast was waiting on the table. Bread, butter, pear jam, and 2 cups of tea. Clara was standing beside the open door, scattering crumbs for the birds. "Did you sleep?" she asked. "Yes," he said, "better than I expected." Sleep often arrives when it realizes it is not being chased. They ate breakfast together. Together, they closed the garden gate. "Good night," the traveller said to the garden. The leaves moved softly in reply. Inside, the fire was warm. The cups were waiting, and for one more night, there was nowhere else either of them needed to be. The little stone house rested beneath the stars. Behind its blue door, the fire burned low and warm. 2 empty teacups waited beside the hearth. Outside, the garden was still. The pear tree moved gently in the night breeze, and somewhere in the old oak tree, an owl quietly called into the darkness. The road beyond the gate was empty. It would still be there in the morning. The hills would still be waiting, and whatever came next could wait as well. For now, was only